We have a liftoff.
Welcome to Ready, Set, Rise, the ultimate podcast made for martial artists by martial artists, with your hosts, Aaron Hensley and Cameron Smith.
All right, let's do it.
So yeah, let's rock and roll. So I'm gonna get started here. Obviously, like I've known you pretty much most of my entire life, but I want to kind of hit this from the ground as the approach. A lot of people in the martial arts space don't know who's behind the brands, and obviously you're wearing the brand. So Century Martial Arts has been around since 1976.
Yep.
1976. Okay, I'm curious from this perspective. What's your kind of earliest memory of being involved inside the business of Century?
I mean, I was always my earliest memory.
Yeah.
I want this, my actual earliest or an inspiring? Are we filming this?
No, yeah. Well, and the reason why I say this is because, you know, my dad, before he converted into fully going into martial arts full time, he laid carpet.
Yeah.
And, which is real work. All right. But I remember when I was a kid going into the carpet shop and seeing him pick out the stuff now I wouldn't want to go do. But as a kid, you're so like curious about stuff. I want to know kind of like first time that you were aware of kind of what was going on around.
I'll give you three because
The
first one is that back in the early 90s, we added on to Century, which was now kind of like our big warehouse deal. And I was actually talking to somebody just yesterday that back when we did that, we were like in our growth and in our stride, I guess, of kind of my dad's generation in the early 90s. And that was on the heels of like Karate Kid and UFC starting to become a big deal and us having a contract, all these different things kind of come together at the right time. And so we built our warehouses. And at that point in time, that was like state of the art deal. He didn't spare any expense on conveying.
Hey guys, we'll get you right back to the video here in a second. If you want to scale your company, if you want to grow your company, click this link below right now. One of our team members is going to reach out to you in the next 24 hours, and we're going to help guide you through the process. We have the goal of impacting business owners in the martial arts space around the world so we can impact our kids, our future, and build resilience through everybody. And I know you can create heaven on earth through your business. So I want you to go to the next level in your business. Click this link below and we'll reach out to you. And I promise I will overpromise and overdeliver, and we'll back up that faith all the time that you're going to go to the next level personally, professionally, financially. And I can't wait to personally meet you.
And optimizing all this stuff. So as my youngest memory was as a kid coming to that thing when it was empty, and I've never seen it empty again. This is crazy because we have conveyors going all over the place and all these different deals. And selfishly, my childish memory of that was I had this like blimp. There was a back deal that was drones weren't around back then. That was a big deal to have this blimp that was helium filled that you could fly around. And I went and I got to like fly that around in there, and I thought it was the coolest thing. But that's
that'd be fun to do now.
Yeah, exactly. That was my childish memory of it.
Like that.
I think that my biggest actual, like martial arts related memory of being kind of involved in the business was when I was involved in martial arts and kind of that experience of being in setting and what that's like outside versus kind of this thing that didn't know at the time was a luxury, but getting to come to Century and I was part of a lot of videos, not because it was, a great thing to be a part of, but because as a business owner now I realize sometimes you just need kids to be in videos.
Right.
I was very often the kid that was just, I was breaking boards or I was holding stuff and being with Mr. Norris and doing photo shoot here with him.
It's pretty cool.
I knew him as like Uncle Chuck. I didn't
Right,
even
right,
know
right.
different. So I really wasn't aware that he was also in his stride of kind of being a walker Texas. Right? All these things were happening for him all at that point in time too. I was just a kid that was, like Chuck was teaching me martial arts, and for some reason you guys were taking pictures. But I got to go, my nighttime class setting was so much different than coming into lights and camera and getting like makeup even as a child put on. I was like, what is going on here? Looking back on it, I was like, that is some of the most special memories I have and was incredibly unique to being a part of what Century is. But it was second nature to me. And I'm very appreciative of my father, who probably just like I would my son at this point in time, like, just buddy, don't ask questions. You're going to want to be a part of this.
Yeah, just smiling. Yeah.
Can't comprehend how big a deal this is at the moment.
Yeah.
And you'll remember it one day. Like I remember it one day. I'm very happy that he did that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm as you're telling me, I'm having flashbacks of so many times. So first of all, for context, your dad started the company. I mean, basically, from my understanding, from hearing not just from him himself, but from a lot of other people. I mean, basically, it is the American dream. Started in the garage, you
So
know,
much.
and fast forward, basically 50 years later, how from that garage to now, and I'm gonna kind of skip around here a little bit. You took over end of last year as CEO, is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, officially, I'm the CEO
Right,
and part of the executive team since 2019, and I've had a role in every area of the company.
for sure. So this for a company, first of all, the last 50 years is, almost unheard of. To stay in the family, that's another thing that's amazing. And then to be able to have succession plan in place, and the one thing I'm super proud of is you are the product. You are tried and true martial artist. I've known you, like I said, since we were kids. Um, from that garage to present time, how large is this company now? Like that warehouse you were talking about being built in the 90s, like give me in whatever terms we want to measure this in, from square footage to product development to employees, whatever, all of it.
Yeah. It was employee of one, I guess.
Right.
It's started in my grandfather's garage, which you won't put in square footage. That's
Yeah.
maybe less than 500 square feet. And it was just a garage on the south side of Oklahoma City
Yeah.
because our family grew up poor. My later in life, my grandpa uh, got a position at the Love's, now corporate kind of gas stations, which is a
Pretty
big
big.
deal. At that point in time, he just owned a Safeway store. And my father was the first person to graduate college. And so we went off to do these other things and quit to start a martial arts company. My grandfather was not very happy
What are
with
you
that. But
doing? Right. Yeah.
it started off as a company of one in a garage, and grew into in 1976 this facility that I'm in now and our headquarters. But it was a small portion of that. And so kind of grew into, I'd say, probably a 5,000 foot facility that was really sewing offices and everything combined, not very big at all. And then as the organic nature of the business grew and grew, and the needs grew for distribution, more manufacturing, marketing teams, sales teams. We added on decade after decade. So 90s, the last add-on that we did was early 2000s, and the company grew and grew. And now going from one man in a 500 square foot garage, we are now 250 strong in a 650,000 square foot facility here in Oklahoma City. So the story has always been rooted here in Oklahoma in the United States. We've grown in the facility rather than move around.
Yeah.
But that is the evolution of the company. And the building is very much grown to our needs, not just some building we moved into.
And obviously I know you're proud of what you've been a part of and the people you have there. And I know it's got to be a lot of challenges that are unspoken that some people know, some people have no idea. But to be part of that, man, it's to me, it's just something that should be celebrated more, and that's one of those things. And your dad's obviously been always kind of quiet behind the scenes, very powerful, and when he does speak, but just his approach isn't very in your face, so and I even feel that from you, right? You guys are, to me, represent exactly what martial arts is about. It's this quiet power. You really care about people. But for the company not only to survive and last and grow into that, when I was there a couple months ago, I was reminded, I had Cameron with me, it's the first time there. We went fast through the walkthrough of that 650,000 square
Yeah.
foot. And it took 2 hours to do it fast. So it's pretty powerful to see that in person. And I would encourage any martial artist to come visit.
I mean, just like one of our values of our company is humility, and that's kind of what we try to preach in our family in terms of you don't need to beat your chest. You need to understand the people you work with, be appreciative of what they do. And I think martial arts humbles you very quickly. So that's something that carries over into our business.
Which kind of, I'm going to jump into some of these things, and uh, they're all kind of blend together a little bit here. But so when you took over CEO, since then, you've been a part of the executive team for a while. Biggest challenge so far you faced?
Biggest challenge so far I faced has been
Can't be
our
the
company.
list. Just give me the one.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the biggest challenge is two things. I'll give you one. Martial arts, just like any business, it changes, and so martial arts is always changing. Whether it's the style, the business model for the schools, there's a lot of things that come into play, but it is an evolving sport, and I don't think people look at it like that. And I mean, it's just like if you look at an NBA player from the '80s and
Oh,
say, now put them up and make them play one-on-one with somebody
that's a hard
now.
comparison. Yeah.
Like the greats are the greats in both of those generations, but when they go up heads up against each other, the game has evolved differently. And so in martial arts, it's no different way. You put a traditional guy against an MMA person, so we're not really doing the same thing.
Right.
And
Correct. Yeah.
so the equipment evolves, all those type of things, and keeping up with that. And also, there's a lot of noise. So those things, those decisions are not always
Right, pulled in.
made correctly, and you've got to be careful before you accept one of those ways. It's not just being a fad or something, and find yourself pouring into something that was hocus pocus, not even a real thing to begin with. So that's
I
a very
didn't, I
thing
was, I
to.
didn't even think about this, but as you're saying that, like what came to me is I think you being a martial artist obviously is a huge benefit. I can see the challenge being this, where what your personal taste might be could influence the company, right?
Yes, I have to be very agnostic about that.
Yeah.
I can't choose to, I may not
It
like.
gives more love somewhere, right?
And
Yeah.
that's true very much with our company right now. My father was not he does never did jujitsu,
Right.
and jujitsu is one of the fastest growing sports in the United States.
Right.
Uh, Everything can be all at once. It's not that needs to be dominant for a century, but we had absolutely no play or no role in that, and so I had to take the stance that look, this is
Hey,
big enough deal that I think we should be involved in it, and it's going to overlap eventually, and so we went and acquired a company called Gameness, and now we have an aspect of that market, but that's from a business perspective. That's just called being risk adverse. It's
yeah. And
it's
just being aware of those trends and the changes and stuff like that. It also, like I said, and so good on you to be at least self-aware that you might have your personal interests and forms. I think the conversation with martial artists sometimes is they try to compare apples to oranges in the sense that like, hey, well, this martial arts is the end all be all right now for whatever reason. And I think the problem that I see is they don't understand that everyone does the activity of martial arts to solve their issue, whatever it is. And so
yeah,
sometimes jujitsu, for example, we know a lot of people in that space. It might not be the right discipline based on the need of that person.
absolutely.
Like taekwondo might not be the right fit or whatever it might be. So I can see that being a challenge also in decision making, running a company.
And then for us in any business, there's things you just can't control. I mean, that's I think been the biggest learning lesson in the most difficult part about our business. And those things you can't control. I can't control what the president of the United States does. I can't control what a shipping company does. I can't control what raw materials and things like that are. But those pressures, just like any business,
Yeah.
that's what ours are. But those are always at your peripheral, and you have to pay attention to them, and you have to be able to adapt to those things at any point in time, and know the levers to pull to be able to circumnavigate them and make whether your customer is a student at your martial arts school or an instructor who's buying your equipment, they have needs, and you have to be able to meet those needs and cater to them.
Yeah.
And so they don't really care what your excuses are.
Yeah,
If you got a problem, deal with it, because they just want to hear how you're going to serve them. And if you keep kidding yourself like your excuses matter and you play the victim, then I promise you that no one, they've got other things to do than listen to your victim.
What's funny about that is, running schools, and I work with school owners, and they'll complain about the Karen in their school or whatever.
Yeah.
The reality is us as school owners can be those for you, and you just have thousands upon thousands of those people. So we think we got a couple problems in our school, and you've got this exponential level that we can't even understand.
And there's obstacles. You always got to be creative, to overcome them. So
Uh, Before I switch it over to kind of school thing, your mindset of, for example, like I love the black on black you're wearing right now.
yeah.
Do you Are you a person that's a visionary where you see something you're like, man, I want to pull that in? Do you have people kind of drop those to you? Like in your mind, where's your skill set of keeping Century, forward thought? Is that your skill, or is you've got a different your
That's
belief?
why I'm a visionary by almost default.
Yeah.
In terms of I'm a big idea person. I like to pursue those things, to look, to research, to bring those things in. Um, I don't always pretend like my design is the taste that all our customers are going to like. So I try to leave some of that aspect up to, I have input, but I'm completely willing to be like, "Yeah, that's how I see it." And
Yeah.
if everybody else disagrees, and that's the way it's got to be. But in terms of the big idea and where we're going next, I'm certainly the person that kind of throws stuff out there, and I kind of put the extreme grandiose goal out there that
Right.
may or may not ever actually be done, but kind of somewhere in the middle, or whenever everyone has their say and we kind of work together as a team, it ends up to be something that's more realistic, and sometimes even maybe better than I had originally thought. But I'm certainly the person that's trying to vision and go out there and say, like, what are martial arts doing? Even to the point where being a martial artist and being the age I am right now and how much I love it, I'm like, consumes my life, and I have a business. So this what if I'm not here, and sometimes even when I am here, I'm doing martial arts and I'm living it. I'm like, I've got injuries and I'm doing those things, and I'm walking over the product team saying, hey, like, this tape is not working.
Right.
It keeps falling off when I'm training, and I've got to be able to do this. Or I just cut weight. I just cut 30 pounds.
Oh,
And
watching that, I'm like, wow.
pour through a pair of plastics every single day. I don't want to. I'm not wasting my time with these plastics. It's a terrible experience for everybody. How can we make this better? And looking at those,
I love you're saying this right now, because that's always been my pet peeve. I'm like, I would have a product from either company, whatever. It doesn't have to be martial arts, but matter of fact, I just bought a bunch of stuff for the gym, and I've never been the guy taking the gym bag in. So I bought a bunch of equipment, and I've already given away some of the stuff to people in the gym because like this thing sucks, this thing's like it doesn't work. And I was like,
yeah,
man, if I own this, somebody should be. So I love you're saying this, because it's like
we're
sometimes,
going through a lot of that right now. The company,
yeah,
I'm like, I've been breaking stuff, to be
yeah,
honest, and nothing makes it out of this door without me at least training with it first. And sometimes stuff sneaks around me. I admit we make mistakes, and that stuff breaks, and I find out about it. I'm usually livid because
yeah.
as the business owner or somebody who's responsible, you have to be the person that says that I let that on the market and it failed my customer. Then that's on me, not on the team that did it, because there should be a rule in place that says no, it's got to be Dillard tested, but martial arts tested before we put out in the market, because we tear stuff up, and that's the reality of it.
Yeah. So I love you saying that. Well, so kind of switching in from the school owners, you talked about kind of biggest challenge, as taking over from the leadership role there. Where do you see, as a school owner operator, where do you see, because you get to talk to a lot of them, you guys also own a company that help the school owners, biggest thing that they're facing right now, biggest challenge you think school owners are facing?
I think that school owners are facing a couple issues. One, we got to be willing to adapt. To adapt. I mean, there's ever-changing needs of parents and what they're after for the kids when they enter martial arts, and so what that looks like for the parents and stuff. You have to have an open mind. Just because you've done something a certain way for forever, and martial arts is extremely rooted in tradition. I'm not saying go throw tradition out the window, but I am saying,
Even ritualistic, almost.
yeah. I mean, coming from the product side, sometimes we have different options for uniforms, traditional uniforms that are a little more comfortable, but there's a mentality that like a uniform has to be as cheap as possible to give to the student right when they walk in the door. And I'm telling you, those things can be uncomfortable and they cannot fit the best in the world.
Yeah.
And
Don't look the best either sometimes when you're like,
we're getting demands from the customers saying it's got to be cheaper, got to be this. I'm trying to tell you that I think that the total lifetime value of the customer in your school can actually be higher if you have a good experience. And sometimes that starts as simple as what the uniform they're wearing
yeah,
and what it
sure.
looks like, and making sure that they don't, they have a good experience and are proud about what they're representing. That can carry over the lifetime of the customer, whether or not that can impact whether they're there a year from now or they quit in a month. And so people got to understand that.
Why do you think that the idea, these school owners, you talking about, so adapting, and I hear you 100%. Why do you think it's such a struggle when we're also the people, and I'm kind of putting myself in that bucket as a school owner, teaching and preaching to kids, for example, about having a white belt mindset and being open-minded, and then we become so rigid? Like, why do you think that happens?
I think I think it's sometimes lack of everybody needs like continuing education, and I think it's a big part of, there's now a martial arts consulting industry. I don't know that that would ever become a
Thing,
thing.
right?
What
Yeah.
people are really preaching is just that it's like don't, and just like I mean, we own a manufacturing business and in marketing. You can look at it a lot of different ways. What our company is, but we are always sending people to conferences to learn more and go and attend webinars and be in person at this event to try and like be a sponge and always continuously learning. Sometimes the martial arts, I think that maybe that looks a little different, and so people can't. Maybe even they have a second job and they're in a marketing position. They go to a marketing conference. They're kind of like, well, what is that? Why would I do that for my martial arts school? What does that look like? And it does look like going to one of these, consulting events, whether it's Maya, it's what you guys are doing with Rise. It's like go out there and expose yourself to what other people are doing. It doesn't mean you have to accept every single change somebody puts in front of you, but you should always be aware of and have new ideas and be trying things to better your business because you can continuously grow and adapt to your business model. I mean, that's
And I think it's a concept they understand because they do that with the actual training of martial arts. They go to seminars, they go to workshops. I think there's some, and I'm generalizing, of course. There's a lot of great people who are great operators. Um, and I know, speaking with your dad multiple times about this, it's got to be very frustrating from y'all's end because obviously the more successful those school owners are, not just financially, but with influence of students, your company is going to be more successful. You're going to be able to employ more people and get grow. So it's like we should be on the same mission. You know,
absolutely.
you're talking about vision. The thing I like about Elon is a lot of stuff he says might not even come true, but it plants the seed. And it's kind of what you said about visions. Maybe you're this grandiose type vision, and it might not happen, but it starts plopping that seed in people's mind of like possibility, opportunity. What can we do? You know?
Absolutely. And I mean, we took the mentality with Maya when we started it, but also just Century has kind of adopted this mentality of the number one goal that doesn't matter whether you're consulting and you're not part of us, and when you're another martial arts competitor of ours, or you're a school owner, everyone wins whenever we grow the martial arts industry. And I believe and that's why I've rooted Century in the fact that I truly believe we exist to inspire people to experience the life-changing benefits of martial arts. I believe that because what we do helps people
Yeah.
and it really can make a huge impact. And so Century's 10-year goal is not to make more money or anything. It's to impact the lives of 30 million people by 2032. That's not where we're at. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the grandiose goal that we really want to achieve. And you have to have something like that to be driving everybody towards the same thing. If we reach it, I do think we're actually going to reach it. But if we don't, we've at least made a hell of an impact along the way in making waves to make that happen. And a school owner has 150 times the impact of one athlete. So I can sell to one athlete.
Right.
Great thing I made a sale. I sell to one school owner. That school owner can affect 150 students on average. It's like
And
that's how
that
I want
continues
to affect
being
one of
said.
those guys.
Yeah. You talk about lifetime value, that obviously a school owner, you can hit so many people. Every time you're saying something, I'm just like, it's jogging my memory on so many things. And I said I was going to take 10 minutes. So we're gonna have to do a part two at some point because I've already gone way past that. Uh, I think one of the things that I can see a challenge going towards what you're talking about is, of course, anytime you set a big goal, there's people that are going to support you, people not. And you don't know what's going to happen with the world outside that you don't have control over. But you said something, but you saying, hey, look, the big goal is this, not so much making money, because you're smart enough to know that if you hit something so big, everything else will take care of itself. And I see when I'm talking to young schoolers now, the the Instagram world that we live in of this instant gratification, I think tricks them into how to make money first and then go after this. And it's reverse. You know, you go do something big and do it right because you're going to fail more times than not. Um, everything else will fall in line. So I like that you lead that way, you know, because it's a good representation of what we should do.
And I think that honestly, the biggest takeaway from martial arts, that's why it's always, especially for the younger school owners, it's funny that they don't sit there and kind of realize this. But like martial arts to me, the biggest business thing that's applicable to business that I learned in martial arts is that it takes a long time to get your black belt.
Sure.
And, and even your degrees and all this stuff. It's a long journey.
Yes.
And how many students do you know that walk in and are like, and my own son does it. When do you think I'm gonna get my belt? When do you think I get my next belt?
Yeah.
You think I'm ready? You think I'm this and stuff? It's like if you just quit concentrating on the next belt or like the next step with everything else, and you just actually are going to do the right thing every day and to
Or
achieve this
wait till
goal.
up is chasing girls.
Yeah.
Just, like, stop chasing.
Yeah.
Attract it to you just by being, you know.
But
You're
you're
right.
after this long-term goal, then you will just do everything right every single day, and one day it will manifest itself, I promise. And so you have to be in it for the long haul. I mean, martial arts taught me that because
Yeah.
you forever, and it's an endless journey. Even when you get it, you really shouldn't consider it done. You can go for forever, I promise. So you
And,
have to have a mentality about your own business.
and the cool thing is as we're aging and you know to life, it's like you get to rediscover martial arts at different levels in your life because your body is different, your mind's different, you know. So that's exciting about you could do this literally. Your dad still trains, you know, and so like uh it's if you really pour into it, that's the beauty about martial arts. All right, I'm gonna do this last few, and then I'd love to do a follow-up here in the future, and I do appreciate your time. I'm gonna have to get me that black on black shirt. I like that one. Give me one big target for Century in front of you in the next 36 months. Short runway, even though that could be really long, that you want to go after and pull off and will accomplish.
Push myself into a corner here, Aaron.
Yeah.
I mean, and next year is Century's 50th anniversary, so next 36 months, I've got a lot of planning to do, and that is no easy feat. Anybody who's ever been to the Super Show or been to a tournament or something, they, you show up and you shouldn't understand how much effort goes into it because it should look effortless if you do your job right. There's a lot of stuff that goes into those. So, for me, it's going to be talking to the city, getting financial support from the city to bring masses and the governor's getting involved and
Okay.
having these kind of conversations with those guys to make them
Yeah, always say stuff.
understand my vision of what I think that having stuff, we may have it in Oklahoma, we may have an event in like a mass tournament or a trade show of some sort, but I've got to instill the vision in a lot of people that don't understand anything about martial arts, and that can be a tricky thing sometimes, but
Yeah.
I do believe that the values and stuff kind of that helps us open a lot of doors. So I'll be pounding the pavement and talking to a lot of politicians about how we can bring martial arts to our community here in Oklahoma in a bigger way to help celebrate Century's 50th anniversary.
Yeah, that's exciting. I mean, I'm just trying to envision that, man. That's a lot of stuff people never even think about fathoming running a company, and to be able to be blessed to be 50 years into it and do that. It's pretty awesome. All right, last thing. Obviously, your dad's been influential to the martial arts world, still is. Started one of the largest companies. What's the one takeaway that either from just father to son or on the business that you gather from your father?
You just got to keep showing up. Discipline, I think, is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Discipline. I mean, the discipline to show up no matter what. Consistency over time is what makes great things, not the one-off great things that happen. Those come if you keep doing your job every single day. So the discipline to day in, day out, show up, be consistent. Never, don't be somebody who is one way one day and another the other. You've got to be consistent, put in the hard work, and there are no shortcuts to hard work. And just keep showing up, and over time, you'll achieve great things. You just have to truly believe that. So he has taught me that because 50 years later, that's what we have. And absolutely, but there's a lot of tough times along the way. Don't let anybody else make you think otherwise. Instagram and the way world is can make you think otherwise these days, but there is no shortcut, I promise.
Absolutely. Hey, man, I appreciate your time.
Of course, anytime, Aaron.